Very good morning to you. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
The headlines for you at 6 o'clock this morning. Boris Johnson prepares to announce new local lockdown rules in England. There will be 3 alert levels with varying degrees of restrictions.
The Liverpool City Region is to face the toughest restrictions. Bars, gyms and betting shops could be closed.
Good morning. As we speak, products are being packed here in the Midlands, bound for Liverpool's hotels, bars and restaurants. What is the cost of not knowing to businesses on the front line and in the supply chain?
Paying tribute to police officer Matt Ratner, who was killed on duty, will be live at his rugby club, which has nominated him for a Sports Personality of the Year award.
A story of love, friendship and determination. I have spent almost a year with rugby legend Rob Burrow and his family as he battles motor neurone disease.
He's been a tower of strength for me. If anything, Rob's been the strong one. He's been the one that's, Lindsay, pull yourself together. We can get upset, but it's not going to change things. And, I'd rather spend the time, happy memories and making the best of what we've got.
Good morning. Today we're looking at quite a dull day. There'll be a lot of cloud around, rain moving from the west to the east, but brighter conditions following on behind. I'll have all the details in 10 minutes.
Good morning. It's the 12th of October. It's a Monday morning and Boris Johnson is to announce a new 3-tier system of local COVID alert levels in England, although it's not clear at the moment what restrictions will apply to each tier.
It is expected that Liverpool City Region will be put on the highest alert level. In a statement, the area's leaders said they had been told pubs, gyms and betting offices will close. Our reporter John McManus has this report.
It was a weekend of bar hopping and socialising for some on the streets of Liverpool. But later today, the government may announce that the party's over for now. Like other parts of the northwest and northeast of England, the transmission of COVID-19 continues to rise here. And after a weekend of negotiations between Whitehall and local leaders, some likely measures are becoming clearer. It's expected that different parts of the country will come under medium, high and very high alert levels. However, the full restrictions have yet to be announced and they may vary between areas with the same alert levels. The full details will be confirmed by the Prime Minister when he addresses Parliament today. The government says it's worked closely with regional mayors, but there has been significant pushback. The leader of the Liverpool City Region says gyms and betting shops will close alongside pubs in his area. But he says a deal hasn't yet been done and he wants crucial information.
Look, the other thing that we've asked the government for is give us some absolutes on what the exit strategy will be for our area once the government have imposed those restrictions and put us into Tier 3.
Officials in Manchester, meanwhile, say they've begun legal proceedings to challenge any closure of hospitality venues. Several breweries have also joined the application for a judicial review. They say there's no scientific evidence to support the measures. There's real concern that some pubs might not survive a second closure.
It's been a long weekend, shall we say, ever since Friday's announcement when we didn't find out anything, and now, possible closure again. There's a lot of pubs that won't recover from this.
Other parts of England are also bracing themselves. Nottingham has the highest infection rate, and the council expects new restrictions to be announced today. Whatever they may be, the direction of travel is becoming clearer. John McManus, BBC News.
Well, let's get more on this right now and what we're expecting to hear from the Prime Minister later. Our political correspondent Nick Eardley joins us. So morning to you, and this seems like a quite significant day again in England's approach, doesn't it?
I think that's right, Louise. I think today we'll get more of an idea, in England anyway, what the next few weeks and months are going to look like as the government tries to control those local outbreaks of the virus. So this tier system is something the ministers have been working on for quite a while. Today we'll finally get the exact details. There's going to be 3 levels. Medium, which is broadly what we have at the moment, things like the rule of 6. Then there's high, which is going to see a curb on us meeting indoors, households gathering in indoor spaces. And then that most serious tier, which will be very high, which is going to to see some hospitality venues, things like pubs closed, and people asked not to leave their local area. That last tier will mean significant restrictions on people's lives in those areas where it applies. The main contender for those restrictions at the moment is the Liverpool region. It's not completely confirmed that will happen today, but the expectation is that over the next few days, certainly, Liverpool will see those significant extra restrictions come in.
Okay, and even with, what, a few hours to go, it seems some of the details are still being ironed out?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think in part it's because there's been a lot of conversation this weekend between local leaders, so mayors in those areas, which could see big changes over the next few days and weeks, and ministers in number 10 behind me. Some of the sticking points are over things like support for those sectors that could see significant closures in the next few days. We know, for example, that the Chancellor's already said for employees, the government will pay 2/3 of their salaries. Some are saying, well, look, if you're on the minimum wage, 2/3 of your salary probably isn't even enough to get by on. So they're calling for more support there. Also, more specific support for those sectors like pubs, which might have to close their doors, saying, well, look, a lot of places are going to go bust, quite frankly, if they're going to have to close. Questions over how you get out of those local measures. So, we've talked loads over the last few weeks, haven't we, Louise, about new restrictions coming in. It's a lot rarer that people come back out of them. So local mayors saying you need to give us details, firstly, of how you're going to support us, and secondly, how we might be able to come out of that. I don't know if we're going to get all those details today, but we're certainly going to try and find out, and there's going to be a lot of activity here. We'll be hearing from the Prime Minister and the Chancellor this afternoon.
Absolutely, we'll try and get as much as we can during breakfast as well. Nick, thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, one area which is waiting to find out if it will be subject to tougher restrictions is Nottingham. It has got the highest rate there in England at the moment. Gita Pensay is there for us this morning. Morning to you, Gita. So what have the local council been told, if anything, this morning?
Well, as we understand it, they haven't been told anything more in terms of knowing exactly what those restrictions will be here. But as you say, people across Nottinghamshire waking up this morning wondering how their lives will be different. And Nottingham does still currently have the highest rate of infection in the UK. So it is now 760 per 100,000 people. And that compares to a national average of 74. But unlike places with high rates such as Liverpool or Manchester, Nottinghamshire doesn't currently have any extra restrictions in place. So that's why people will be waiting to hear from that announcement from the Prime Minister this afternoon. And what they're really waiting on is to find out which tier in this new system Nottinghamshire is going to be placed into. A leaked document on Friday suggested it would be in tier 2, but that's not been confirmed yet. And of course, it has a huge impact in terms of how people will be able to interact, whether two households will be able to mix indoors. That's been ruled out currently by the local authorities, and it's highly anticipated that that's what the government will restrict to. But also, what impact will it have on the hospitality industry here, on pubs, on bars? So everyone in Nottinghamshire bracing themselves for the news later today.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll speak to you a bit later on.
More than 1,300 arts venues and organisations are to receive money from the government's Culture Recovery Fund to help them survive the pandemic. Grants worth a total of £257 million have been announced. Beneficiaries include the Cavern Club in Liverpool, other theatres, museums and ballet companies across England. The funds are intended to help the organisations produce work and keep going until the spring.
All pregnant women are being encouraged to take up an offer of a free flu vaccination before the winter. Health experts say the jab is even more important than usual because of COVID-19. Well, more people have been offered the vaccine this year. Anyone over 50 in England is also eligible.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.